yeah, I see a lot of positive things happening around the world. I can say not only in India. I can see that a lot of positive things happening around this renewable energy sector and this solar energy. That's really appreciable, in fact. And especially, I think in countries like China. I mean, I've observed like countries like China where massive production is happening. Like I think they're facing some challenges in terms of utilization and storage. Storage. So like, is it because of the? Is it because like how do you see this? Challenge. How can we address these challenges?
Well, again, the Chinese, I'm not
Not
really aware
sorry
of
to interrupt you.
the.
Sorry to interrupt. Not only in China, I think how the rest of the world, like be it in UK, we have seen that few companies in UK are giving energy, like you use energy, we'll pay you actually. So such kind of challenge, such kind of situations are happening. So the utilization and storage are something like how do you balance it? So can you just tell us how to handle?
Actually, what happened? Yeah. So actually, what happened in the summer of 2020 in UK is the United Kingdom has huge wind power generation systems which are installed in Scotland.
Mhm.
And why do I say Scotland? Because Scotland is almost the North Sea,
Mhm.
and what is North Sea is famous for is its winds.
Okay.
Because as a marine engineer, I know that's not the place that you want to go on a ship because it's very, very, very bad, ocean or a sea that you don't want to be in there because the winds are so bad. Not bad, let's say. Of course, for a wind turbine, they're not bad. They're good. But for a person in a ship, that's very bad. So what they did is they have they have been becoming pioneers in making the biggest wind turbines.
Okay.
And why they're making big wind turbines is because the wind that they have, the potential, the energy, the amount of wind energy that they have is pushing them towards making the bigger and bigger turbines
Okay.
because they realized that it is their energy security. See the countries like the countries which are in Africa, Asia, they don't really need to have that much of energy consumption, especially when it comes to room heating and room cooling.
Yeah.
The average power consumption of the people who live near the equators is considerably very low. The people live towards the pole, towards the North Pole or the South Pole. This is because of the climatic conditions, and they need to keep generating electricity. They need a lot of energy to keep their homes warm. And the sad part is they don't have a lot of solar energy, right? So what they will do, they have a lot of wind though, because of course the wind is nothing but solar energy. The solar energy comes in, it heats up the atmosphere, and then the winds go around. So wind energy is a form of solar energy. Okay, it's not. It doesn't come from the earth again. I'm telling you, wind energy doesn't also come from the earth. It also comes from the sun. So that is why even wind energy is a perpetual energy machine. I would say. So so wind and solar are those two things, and also the tidal energy. I might say, but tidal energy hasn't caught up its potential. The most fastest growing renewable energies right now are solar and wind, and these two can actually solve most of the country's energy needs. I wouldn't say the entire world, but at least most of the countries, the biggest countries, the countries in Europe, the countries in Asia, where the energy consumption is very high, or the number of people are very high, right? These are the hot spots, right? Either your energy consumption is very high or your population is very high. So even in both conditions, you have very high power consumption. So these countries with very high power consumption, they really can shift all their power generation to solar and wind. So when we're talking about giving free energy in the UK, it's not actually free energy. It's, as I said before, wind and solar are not consumption-based energy production. They are generation-based energy productions.
Yeah.
But what happens in coal and oil is how much you need, they can generate. But what happens with wind and solar, they cannot generate as much as you need. So
Okay.
when you can just shut down a coal power plant, you cannot actually shut down a coal power plant. I'm just saying theoretically, you can reduce the load and you can reduce the speed of a diesel engine or the power production of a diesel engine. You can shut down a diesel engine, but it is very, very hard to shut down a solar power plant because there are solar panels in the sun. The sunlight is coming up. You have to put that energy somewhere, you know. You cannot just shut it down. You cannot just cover it with something. So the energy is
Yeah.
coming out. You have to put it somewhere. So what happens? So this is a very tricky thing with renewable energies. We have to be very cautious because if we do go full on solar or wind energy, there might be a chance that we will be generating more energy than we need. And
Okay.
UK is an example or the first case that we can see that actually happening. Of course, it
Okay.
happens everywhere, but UK is a place where it actually happened in a way that they had to pay somebody to use that energy because when the wind is blowing so badly, of course they do shut down. They can actually shut down the wind
Yeah.
turbines. But
Mhm.
let's say you do have a consumption, but you cannot shut down the wind turbine, but you're generating more energy than you need. So that this is
Yeah.
the situation that we have come to a point where they had to, and there is a startup that started that is born because of this problem. So they see a problem. Well, so renewable energy is not a problem. There is a problem in a renewable energy that we have to solve. Okay, don't whenever we talk about a problem, people come up like, oh, there is a problem with renewable energy, then we don't have to do it again. So that it's not. We shouldn't do that. So
They are
there is a problem.
the
Yeah. So there is a problem that how did they solve it is when they have excess energy, the energy companies, what they do is they look for somebody to buy this energy,
Mhm.
right? But nobody is buying that energy. Then what you'll do? You have to pay somebody to take that energy. Like it might sound like, oh, why would somebody pay you to use electricity? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I'll give you another example with oil only because what happened when there is a lockdown all around the world because of Corona,
Yeah.
people actually paid people,
Yeah.
the companies actually paid people to take the oil from their hands. You know why? Because they don't want to stop the oil production because they cannot stop oil production. Because what happens in an oil well, you dig a hole and it doesn't stop. It has to come out. You put you put you see it's like a very it's like a time bomb. You poke it and you let it keep sending the oil out. If you shut down that plug, there is a risk of that well collapsing. So you cannot extract oil anymore. So what you do, you have to keep extracting it, right? You cannot stop it. If you stop it, the plug may result in a chance that it will crack the entire basin and it will collapse, and you cannot extract oil anymore. So what then? So that is the reason why they're paying people to buy oil because no one else is buying. So this is a different case. Power
Yeah.
consumption has come down, the oil consumption has come down, then there is a problem. But what happened with UK is they had more production. It's not that people are consuming less. They installed
Mhm.
so many wind turbines. The wind has
Mhm.
actually generated the maximum that it can, and they don't know what to do with it. So what they
Yeah.
did, they approached a startup. Luckily, this kind of problem, somebody anticipated that this problem will come,
Mhm.
and they started a company to solve this problem. And this company actually existed for 2 to 3 years. Can you imagine that? And the power plants loved them because they existed when they needed it, right? They cannot wait for 2 more years to send electricity somewhere. So there is this company. What they do is they have a software, and they have all they do. I wouldn't say only software, but they have a smart grid that they can redirect that energy into their clients, and they have a client base, like power people who consume energy, right? So they have a client, and what they do is they send an SMS, or they send an email, or send SMS, or they call their customer. They send an SMS that from 3:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. if you use this energy, you will be paid this much. And when you and their clients are actually the owners of Tesla cars. So what they did is they use that energy to charge their cars, and they use that energy to charge their Tesla batteries at home. And little did they know, next day they got another SMS. If you can let us use your electricity from your battery from this time to this time, we will pay you again. And then the consumer is like, what's happening? So that's the birth of the energy trade. You might have seen this kind of thing in stock exchange. Oh, when you sell and buy stocks, oh baby, the new commodity is energy, and the new stock exchange is your battery. So the world is changing.
Yeah, yeah.
The world will be changing into this, and trust me, the new currency is not dollars, the new currency is not pounds, the new currency is not rupee, the new currency is energy, and the energy will be traded in every country in the future. Take my word for it. And there will be a stock exchange for energy, because the world will only be run by electricity. That electricity will be generated through sun, and it could be either wind or solar. You may say nuclear fusion, and then I'll argue again it's sun's technology, and you're stealing the patents of the sun again, and you're building a sun inside your reactor. So again, it is the energy from the sun.
I think probably, you'll be taking up the case, if sun approaches.
Yeah. So I think sun is good enough that he'll not file any infringement on his patent, I guess. So because we are already using sun's energy for free without paying anything.
As we are getting a lot of, as the production of energy is very high, when it's too high, like in China, as I said, when massive production is happening, so like, when the utilization is low, and the energy is high, so in such sort of things, like the storage is something which we have to look out.
This is how it is. The problem, as we discussed before in the early time,
Yeah.
in the interview, the first thing I said is the point of production and the point of consumption. So this has to change. I'll give another example. There is another startup. I don't remember the name. What they do is, you remember the example I gave of Gravity. They use gravity to generate electricity. And there is another startup which is actually using the technology that is used in building skyscrapers. So what they're doing is, when we discussed about the solar energy, that how to power a dense city, how to make a battery in a dense city. So what they do is, let's imagine you build a very big building, right? And that building is built with lots of weights, and you use that weights when you're lifting the weight to put it up on top of it, you consume that electricity from the solar energy. And when you're putting that the weight, putting it down, then you generate electricity. So that is the same. That is a type of battery that someone is developing right now. So I would say, when it comes to batteries, we don't really have to rely on chemical batteries. Like the lithium-ion batteries or lithium ferrous batteries. They are only the batteries that store electricity to power your cars, or maybe the buses, or maybe the trucks. But you don't really need this type of batteries for home, for factories, for power production plants. But Tesla is doing it because they have the batteries. It doesn't mean that the world has to use lithium-ion batteries in order to shift from fossil fuel energy generation to renewable energy generation. So lithium-ion batteries or chemical batteries only a part of the solution. The bigger solution is mechanical batteries and many other solutions to store energy. Like there is a plant in Germany which stores heat in a salt or salt brine. So they use heat from the sun and they heat up the salt liquid, and they use that heat from the salt liquid at night, to use to heat up the what do you say homes at night. And there is another project in I think Norway. They use heat from the servers. They have a lot of Bitcoin servers. So what the Bitcoin servers do, they do generate a lot of heat. So what they do, they use this hot air, and they use this hot air to heat the homes. So it's a win-win for both. Do we have them in India? As I know, I don't really know if there are any, but I have never come across these kind of technologies in India. If it is cold, we use electricity to burn it, and if it is hot, we use electricity to burn it. We are not really trying to put things together. So when it comes to batteries, I think lithium-ion batteries are only significant for mobility purpose, especially in buses and cars. And I don't think even aeroplanes will need batteries. I think there will be another technology that to power clean aircrafts. I'm not really sure because flying is a very different ball game. It has very secure, because if your car runs out of battery, you can just stop it. But if your airplane runs out of battery, you just die. So there are a lot of things to consider when we have to shift the air transportation to renewable energy. That is a very big challenge. But when it comes to running a car, anything that runs on the road, if it is not running on electricity, it is stupid.
Yeah, thanks for the detailed answer. Like, I mean, after knowing a lot of, about solar energy and its applications, or the feasibility and all. So like, I've seen in while I was searching more on internet, like about solar energy and all. I see that the common question that is popping up is like, how do you strike right balance of technology, economics, and sustainability? Like the challenge people say, but how do you address when it comes to solar energy in terms of solar industry? I mean.
Well, we cannot expect everything to change as it is. I mean, let's say if we do not change our grid, if we do not change our consumption habits, if we do not change the way we generate energy, just because let's say saying that installing solar power plants will solve everything is stupid. Actually, you cannot solve renewable energy crisis just by installing solar power plants, because no single energy production can actually solve everything. In a country like America, Tesla solar roof, Tesla batteries, Tesla cars make sense because they have big homes with big roofs, and they have a big driveway that they can park 2 or 3 cars. It's an American way of living, and that is an American way of solution. So we cannot have the same kind of solution everywhere in the world. We cannot expect that India copies other countries when it comes to renewable energy. So renewable energy is something that is a continuous, what do you say, continuous hunt to find a solution for the problem. So let's say take an example, Bangalore, right? What is the top speed that we can actually go in the city of inside the city? It is like 30, 40, maybe 50 kilometers per hour. Everybody who drives in Bangalore, any other city, knows that it's right. Driving in a city is like pain. You have to shift it, gear it, then. I mean, at least in India we have manual transmission cars, but at least in other countries like Western countries, they have automatic cars that maybe they don't feel the pain as much as we do. But if we are shifting our pain to automatic cars instead of electric cars, I think we are just shifting our pain from our legs to our pocket, because if your legs are hurting now, then your pocket will be hurting if you shift from automatic. So the so in uh, uh, so we have to understand that every country has a different geographical situations and different consumption levels. But in India, rooftop is not very popular, because Anantapur gets almost, the where I live gets like 360 days of sun, and literally there are no solar panels except probably my home. Of course, there are some other homes, but that's the problem, right? Why don't we have solar installed on our roofs? Because we don't have the technology, and the second thing, we don't have the will to do it. We don't have the technology because our grid and our power supply system is all messed up. There is like
Nowadays, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Also, I see that a lot of innovation, that lot of myths like that. Solar is not. The economics of solar doesn't work out, and it's not like, as you are, of course you have already answered it. But people feel that it's the energy generation is intermittent, and it's costly. You need a lot of operational things and all. I see a lot of myths are going around, not only in India, in fact, around the world. A lot of myths are moving around on this. I think probably
see
that's the
for
reason why
this.
balance is not striking.
Yeah, so I'll try to address this with talking about the problem first. The problem is, uh, we do generate electricity, but we cannot store it. The storage is the main problem, and it is very expensive to do it. And if we generate more electricity, we don't know what to do with it. And if we generate less electricity, we don't know where to get the rest of the. So the balance between the production and consumption is not satisfactory. So there is one solution for this. Let's say there are 1 lakh homes in Anantapur, right? All we have to do is install solar on every roof, install smart metering on every roof. So what this does is, and you connect this smart metering to a smart grid, and then the smart grid connects to the actual grid that we actually get power from. So what they have to do is, just imagine, let's say there is 5 megawatt power consumption in Anantapur, and they are generating 7 megawatt. The grid is generating 7 megawatt, and we consume 5 megawatt. Now the power consumption goes up like 10 megawatt, and the grid generates 7 megawatt. Now the rooftop will generate 3 megawatt, right? So when let's say the power consumption is 10 megawatt, you install all the solar panels on the roofs, and that solar energy can generate 3 megawatt. What you have to do is, you have to balance that 7 megawatt from your grid. You don't need batteries. You don't need to spend money on batteries. All you have to do is spend money on your solar panels, which is very, very cheap. Batteries, you don't have to spend anything. So what happens now is, because your grid is smart, if you're generating more electricity than you need, the electricity will be sent to the grid. If you need more electricity than you're consuming, then it takes electricity from the grid. So now now you know what you have turned? You have turned the coal power plant into a battery. So the coal power plant will be your reservoir here. So whenever you need, it will give. Whenever you don't need, it will redirect that power to somewhere else. At least it is. I mean, in ideal situation, you cannot just send the energy somewhere else, but you have to plan it in such a way that you you always consume all the electricity that you what I'm saying is, if your consumption is 10 megawatt, you generate only 7 megawatt, right? So you will not generate more electricity. You will only generate less electricity that you need. So your coal
True.
power plant will act as a battery. So you don't need batteries. You don't need have to spend a lot of money on it. So suddenly, what
Yeah.
happens? You reduce the consumption of your coal. You reduce the consumption of water for the thermal power plant, right? You don't have to
Yes.
use as much of water that you need to for thermal power plant. So smart gridding and smart metering will solve most of the renewable energy challenges that everybody is facing on from the
Yeah.
in the globally. So at least an example for my place, I'm giving this because of course batteries are very expensive and they are useless in the current what do you say, production. If you buy some batteries from Amaron or Exide or whatever the company it may be, the cheap low technology batteries, they're very useless and they're very bulky, and there is a lot of maintenance in that. There is a lot of uncertainty in there. But you put up the solar panels on. I have solar panels on rooftop for last 5 years. I have no problem with the solar panels, but I have ton of problem with the battery. I have no problem with the inverter. I have ton of problem with the battery. So remove the battery from the equation. Suddenly your upfront cost goes down dramatically. So use smart metering, smart grids, finished.
Uh, yeah, I mean, exactly. The solution what you proposed, definitely, I'm sure it works everywhere, because in Western countries, if you see, like, people are moving towards the solar homes. I can say, solar powered homes and all. So I think even there, like, this sort of technology where the generation versus the production versus the utilization can be balanced with the smart mini power grids, I would say. Do you mean correct?
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's a
So the final nail in the coffin for the coal is technology. For a very long time, we did not had solar power plants for one big reason. We did not had enough technology or technology good enough to manage the intermittent power production. But right now we have all the technology in the world to manage electricity. They are very smart machines to control electricity. There is this technology is the final coffin for the coal. Coal is gone. Coal is gone. Coal is literally gone. The coal power plants are becoming so expensive right now. The government cannot keep up with the expenses that they are incurring with the the coal power plants. Instead of shutting down the coal power plants, they are asking the solar industry to reduce more on the on the per unit basis. So they are trying to charge solar industry more because the coal power plants are less efficient. So this is a place where we have come to a place now that solar has become so cheap and the coal has become so expensive. They are shifting their tariff from coal to solar. But 15 years ago, it's opposite, right? The solar was very expensive and the coal was very cheap. Now the tables have shifted. So there is no this is happening. This is not happening because the government wants. This is not happening because people want. This is happening because of the technology. This is happening because solar has become very cheap, and this will happen no matter the government will do it or not.
Yeah, true. Because as we see that a lot of awareness is coming in people, like, about the environmental safety and environmental security or climate crisis, whatever you call. So a lot of awareness is coming in people. I mean, I think that thought is driving the change. For people to
Yeah,
go for
but
clean energy.
but the sad thing I would say is the technology is there and it is very cheap. The technology came from the West, and the solar panels has become very cheap because of China, and it will happen in the world.
Mm.
I don't know. I mean, as a national pride, I don't know what India actually did to contribute to. I mean, actually contribute, not just monetary. We have funded nuclear fusion plants. We have invested a lot in the solar industry. So we are becoming the followers, but we are not becoming the leaders. The technology that will power that the technology will come to India, and it will come from the West, and the solar panels will come to India. They will come from the China. We will have renewable energy,
Mhm.
but this energy this energy freedom that everybody in the world that will have in the future is not because of what we did, or at least in India it will happen just because it is happening.
True. Well, what you said is absolutely true. And also, I see that, sort of, because adapting any technology requires a sort of culture, basically. So, not only
Yeah.
technology, any sort of change or anything, you need a sort of culture. So, coming to even renewable energy, also, the countries which were successful in adapting solar or any form of renewable energy, like UK or China, or even now, US, in fact, I see there is a sort of culture already set for the renewable energy to prosper, basically. So, like, I think, especially from UK and China, I think we have, especially from UK, I feel, because they have all sort of renewable energy forms, generating for the country and contributing to the country. So I think there is a beautiful culture set over there. So can you speak about, what we should, the takeaways, to learn from these sort of cultures, actually, this renewable energy culture, I would say.
See, they have see it's all about not only the renewable energy culture. I think it is a culture where comes from what will happen for the future of us, what will happen to the future of humanity, and when we think about ourselves, what will happen to the future of Indians, what will happen to the future of our own people. They think they are thinking what will happen in the future, and they are acting upon it. So the British people know that in the future we cannot depend on Saudi. We cannot get oil from them. They know that they cannot. They don't have coal, and they know that they cannot cut down the forest anymore. Not because they don't want to, because they cannot do that anymore because it is not happening. How many trees you are going to see? Even today, UK imports wood from America to run thermal power plant instead of, because they cannot burn coal. They cannot burn coal because they have signed the European law, right? You cannot produce this much of pollution. Instead of, they cannot burn coal, they cannot burn oil. All they can burn is natural gas, the gas to heat up the homes. So what they did is they are importing wood. They are cutting down trees in America and they are importing that wood and they are burning wood. Can you imagine? UK is, just we talked about how much UK is, advanced in this renewable energy sector, and they still have a power plant that burns wood to generate electricity, and they know that they cannot do that forever.
Not only India. I mean the in the general sense, like, complete the world. What takeaways, they have to
There
learn
are some
UK renewable culture.
See, there are two types now. The countries. There are some countries who are capable of going sustainable energy and they are not doing it. And
Mhm.
there are countries who are not capable of going sustainable energy
Mhm.
because they do not have a government that is capable of doing it, or they
Yeah.
do not have the infrastructure
Mhm.
that is capable of doing it. I mean, they cannot go sustainable, not because they cannot go sustainable. They cannot go sustainable because their energy consumption itself is very low. It doesn't really, they don't really see. When you have a BMW that is powered by diesel, then only you think of a BMW that is powered by an electricity. When you
Mhm.
don't even have when you don't even have footwear, when you don't even have shoes to wear, there are countries like in Africa. What will they think about renewable energy, right?
Yeah.
But actually, to the contrary that what I said, the
Mhm.
only way for them to get electricity is to buy a
Yeah.
solar panel, put it on they can carry it to their home, put it on their hut, and they can generate electricity tonight.
Yeah. Mhm.
See, that is the only way that they can actually do renewable energy. They
Yeah.
have They don't have the grid, they don't have the power lines that run to them.
Yeah.
So for them, if they want to go for in the future, if these countries have to go in a way that they need like energy in the future, the only way for them is renewable energy. Even there is a there is a case in I think Afghanistan. They grow a lot of heroin base plants.
Yeah.
They do it with solar power. You know what they did is they don't have a reliable supply of diesel. They don't have a reliable supply of petrol, and their diesel generators keep breaking. So what they did one day, one farmer invested some money and he installed solar panels. And even in India, there is a program that they install solar panels on your farm, and that energy generates runs the pump automatically, depending on the it is not it doesn't have battery or anything. It runs on direct current. The motor runs on direct current. So when the light comes in, when the light comes, the pump runs. That's it. There is no complicated things in it. So this kind of solar setup had in 2000, I think 2014 or 15, it started, and today they are the leading exporters of heroin, and they have the entire country have set up these solar pumps in the entire desert of Afghanistan. So Afghanistan is full of solar power plants which are feeding these crops. So now you can understand the poorest of the poor people can actually afford solar. Why the richer and richest people are not able to do it? Because they don't want to do it.
Yeah, definitely. The Afghanistan case study which you presented, so that applies to even to India, because we being in India, so we have a lot of agricultural land, and a lot of GDP contribution coming from agriculture, and people are even finding very difficult. Like the power supplies are very big, and in India, basically to the rural places, and most of the villages are not even electrified even today. So in that cases, this can be a very good, like sustainable solution, I would say.
Yes, actually, there is an initiative from the central government for
Mm-hmm.
microgrids. So
Mm-hmm.
microgrid is essentially nothing but they will install a solar power plant for
Mm-hmm.
your village,
Mm-hmm.
and that solar power plant will generate electricity only for your village. It is
Yeah.
a microgrid. It is not connected to anything else. It is a self-contained microgrid,
Mm-hmm.
and these are the initiatives that are actually happening in India.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have any batteries. They have nothing. They just generate electricity, and people use it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
good. That's a good. And also, like I see, to establish the renewable energy culture. I think I feel the 2 points are very important. One is the policy perspective. The other is the energy management education. I think these two are very very important and need of the hour. So do you have? Can you share some thoughts on the policy and the
Yes,
energy
that's
management?
actually yeah, that's actually a very good question. As we discussed before, India has very good policies for solar industry. It used to have very good policies for solar industry. Right now, they're not very much there because of the solar power. The cost of solar has come down dramatically. So there are not many incentives or a big push towards solar in financial sense. But there is a lot of push in bureaucratic and from the top government to go solar more and more solar. But there is another place that the government is not pushing where they has to. That I said, you can, the solar industry is not complete without electric mobility. Unless otherwise you have electric mobility, all this solar energy will make no sense in the future. And if I don't know, the best thing about Indian government is they're pushing solar so much, and that on the same side they're not doing anything for electric mobility. Of course there is a lot of news and blah 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 blah, but they're doing nothing for they're literally doing. nothing for electric mobility. Maybe in some places like Delhi and other, very, very small places, but as a nation as whole, how much they are pushing energy industry to solar, they're not pushing the mobility industry to electric, because we as a country has more and more power consumption, that we have to install more power plants, and that is not hurting the existing solar power plants, right? But we as a country has an automobile industry. The auto industry has enormous number of jobs, enormous number of shift has to go through. But installing solar is the easy part. Shifting the mobility to electric mobility is like the hardest part. And probably government is doing what they're doing, or they're not capable of doing it, that they don't want to do it. I think they want to do it, but they want to do it on their own terms. But if you want the domestic technology to meet, reach the levels that they are in other countries like China and US or UK, we have to wait. We only have to wait.
Like of course, situations are progressing. Hopefully, hope that things go well. But in general, if you want to list out 5 points straight away that this should get into the renewable energy policy or solar energy, what renewable energy adoption policy. So, what can be the 5 points to count?
Stop making diesel engines, first thing. Stop making diesel engines. It could be for anything. It could be for buses, cars. Diesel is dead. Diesel is dead. Second thing, cars, right? Four-wheeler cars, passenger cars, private cars, they're done. Electric cars, okay? You cannot push any other sector than private cars.
Yeah.
Private cars is the only sector the government can actually push into electric mobility, because being a private market, you cannot have a backlash on it. People will buy it. Okay, the petrol car costs 10 lakhs, electric car costs 20 lakhs. And if you ban, not just ban, stop making them. You don't have to ban them, right? You just have to stop the production. And people might say, if you stop the production, what will happen to how will people buy cars? I would say a simple example for this. Right now, people are doing what they're doing with what they have. And tomorrow we will not have 10 billion people born, right? So why we will need 1 billion cars? It's just the mentality that we have to keep doing, we have to keep producing, we have to keep buying. This capitalistic system is a very big threat for sustainable energy in India. Of course, it is a threat to every country in the world. But so the first point is stop diesel engines, and second point is stop all IC, internal combustion engines for cars. That's it. I'm not saying that you should stop for heavy vehicles. You can run heavy vehicles, you can run buses, everything you can run. And the third thing, and of course, cars and also two-wheelers, right? How far you'll go every day on a two-wheeler? Will you travel 500 kilometers on a bike every day? No. The maximum you'll travel on a bike every day is like 30 or 40 kilometers. Electric vehicles can do much more than that you need. So electric mobility is very, very important right now. If you second point, and third point, stop reducing prices on solar industry. They're already down. Okay, they're already very, very low. The government is, especially the Andhra Pradesh government, because of the coal inefficiencies in their own power plants, they want the solar power plants to compensate that. You cannot have that. You cannot have a solar power plant to compensate the inefficiencies of a coal power plant. You either subsidize it by yourself, by the taxpayers' money, or you find another solution. You invest that money into a technology that can solve that issue.
Yeah.
You cannot shift your load onto the renewable energy industry. And the fourth thing is infrastructure. The infrastructure is very bad, especially the infrastructure for renewable energy is doesn't almost. I mean, if you consider a solar power plant as just like another power plant, the infrastructure exists. But if you consider a solar power plant as a solar power plant as a renewable energy, the infrastructure doesn't exist. You concentrate on the infrastructure. Not that I'm saying that you have to build a new grid that takes care of the system. As I said before, use the existing, let's say Anantapur is a smart city, right? Why don't you take an initiative and install solar panels on entire homes in Anantapur? And as I said, the example, you use this technology, you bring in the technology, the smart grids, you put in the infrastructure in Anantapur, you prove that this can be done, and this will be implemented in every part of India. You put in the infrastructure for the renewable energy. When I say infrastructure, that is smart grids, smart metering, and using existing systems to compensate what do you say, to balance the inefficiency, the imbalances in the power production of the solar rooftops. And probably the another point would be, I might probably have to think.
How about subsidies? To encourage people.
I wouldn't go to the subsidies because I mean, if you're giving subsidies for oil industry, sure, why don't you give subsidies to the
Yeah.
renewable energy industry?
So when we take the
But
leverage,
in India,
yeah, I'm sorry.
subsidies are misused. So I wouldn't say subsidies is a very good thing for at least, especially for solar industry. So I'm not sure what would be the another point is probably educate. Yeah, probably it should have been the first point, not the fifth point. Educate. Educate yourself, educate people, educate everybody. Don't be in a place, don't be in a place where you cannot do it. Don't think that it cannot be done. Don't think that it is hard. Don't think that we cannot do it. Don't think that India is not a fit for it. And encourage entrepreneurs who are actually doing it. So,
Yeah. I think, yeah, as you said, like I'm more interested in because from your podcast, especially, I can see that you have taken the initiative of the, I would say, energy management education. I think you have already taken a step forward in that, because I see a lot of information from your podcast, learning actually, because you have clearly explained from the starting to the ending, how exactly the energy, this complete renewable energy and environmental crisis, how we are contributing, how we can overcome it, on in all the sectors you have clearly mentioned. I think that's a very good initiative. I appreciate you, in this process of promoting the energy management education. I think in every school, in
yeah,
every college, and in every part of institutions, or even in offices, I would say people should have some initiative to educate people on energy management, because that is the future, and that is how we can set a proper culture, because once people are educated, so then culture automatically evolves. So when you don't have an education about something, so obviously culture doesn't exist. So I think that's a pretty good, the 5 point principle, or for the very good policy on for renewable energy is really great.
the example I gave for smart city.
Yeah.
See the prices right now. The electricity prices have come up in Andhra Pradesh. So if they do this smart gridding in Anantapur, let's say if you put solar panels on entire rooftops in Anantapur, even the price per kilowatt will also come down. And because the people are giving their space to put up the solar panels, they also get paid after 7 years or 6 years. It actually is free. So instead of going the price, instead of going up, it will actually come down. So that is what I'm talking about. Bring the infrastructure, bring the solutions. So if you don't bring the solutions, you keep shifting the load because you have a problem now. It is like, it is like you have a problem here and you try to you have an inefficiency somewhere. You try to meet that inefficiency by someone else's efficiency. You can't do that. You have to improve your own efficiency. You cannot. It is like, the Fiat. This is a funny story. Fiat Chrysler actually buys credits from Tesla. You know why they buy credits from Tesla? In Europe, if you want to sell 100 cars in Europe, at least some part like 20 or 30% of your cars should be electric. Or actually, it's not like that. It's actually the overall emissions. If you sell 100 cars, you can only emit this much of carbon dioxide. This is the rule. So what they do, if you sell electric cars, the number comes down, right? If you sell all electric cars, the number is 0. So what Tesla has, they have, for every car they sell, they get credits from the European government, the European Council. So what Fiat Chrysler do, they keep selling petrol and diesel cars. They buy credits from Tesla. You know what? They paid $500 million, 500 million in Q2 of 2020. Fiat Chrysler paid to Tesla, for what? To buy CO2 credits. So you're compensating your inefficiency from other companies' efficiency. This is what the government is doing in India. Because of your coal power plant is inefficient, you're going after the solar industry.
Yeah, true. I mean, exactly. We hope that like like we don't keep struggling to build a big inefficiency or inefficient systems to drive the nations. So hope so that like things get positive, and the renewable energy start rolling up, and people get educated about it. So, and I
Yeah, I
also
would say we have to speak up, and I think the future of renewable energy depends on the future of renewable leaders, I guess.
anyways, I mean, it's been a very interesting discussion on the renewable sector and the solar energy. Thanks, Sandeep, for your time and for your knowledge. For sharing your knowledge with all of us for like for this much of time. That's really appreciable, and I request you to continue your, the podcast series, because at least you can be of help to people who want to change or who want to get educated about these things. So I wish your company very good luck, and you've been doing fabulous job in terms of your engineering solutions for it's really appreciable the way you're bringing up your company, and the way you are driving it in a very positive direction. That's really remarkable, and definitely we look out to to we want you to be in some sort of position like Tesla, where really the change what we do can reflect in the society basically. So speaking change makes no sense until we be the
Yeah.
change, as Gandhiji said. So be the change what you want to see. So I hope that your company stays as inspiration to many entrepreneurs in this world, in fact. And especially as I'm an Indian, so I expect that it will be more inspiration to many of the Indians, to come up and achieve further. So thanks, Ali, for your interaction, and it's been a good day. And any final thoughts you would like to share about the discussion or something like that?
I would say thank you so much for your time and whoever are the listeners. And I would say my request to anybody is we are human beings and we have a thought process. And as a civilized human being, we have outlook towards civilization and society. So we have two parts: the societal human being and and an intelligent human being. So try to have these two in hand and be to open to explore what is actually out there. Have the capacity to analyze things, and uh, if you are not capable of reaching a place where you can make the change, at least understand that who is capable of making that change, and try to help them or try to support them in a way, like vote for them, try to find the right leader, right, no, try to find the right person to vote. When you're voting, your vote makes a lot of difference in the world. So if you try to find the right person to push towards the place, support the people who are actually doing it, in many ways, like financial, could be financial, you can give them financial support, or you can give them moral support, or you can give them like publicity, or you can spread the word. So be a part of, when you see, it's all about us. We are a part of society and we have the right, and it all starts with us. We may think that I'm just an individual, or what I don't know what change I can do in this big world. It actually is what actually makes a lot of difference, because when you become a responsible human being or responsible person, it has a lot of effect on the society and the future of humanity as a whole.
Yeah, thank you, Sandeep. Thanks for your time, and thanks everyone. Hope you enjoy this show, and we continue to, like reach you with with many interviews and many with experts, who can really make the difference in this world. So all we want is, people who be the change, to preach the change. So this channel is intention is mainly to make people, to bring to people that, the change makers don't talk the change, but they be the change. So the main intention of the channel is this. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you, everyone, and let's meet you with another interesting speaker in the coming time. Thank